Okay, hello. Yeah, welcome back. Yep. So we finished step 1 moments, step 1 moments, and the step 1 itself from Our Life Now and Forever. So now I'm gonna go to step 2 preview. So yeah, this demo includes a preview of step 2. Parts of the preview will be arranged differently in the final game. Saves you make during the step 2 preview will not be downloadable will not be loadable in the final version of the game. Are you sure you want to continue? Yes. Alright, awesome. In between. Welcome back to the tutorial. The childhood portion of the Our Life Now and Forever demo has come to its end. You're heading into the grand land of teenagedom. Yay. Like always, you don't have to stick with the exact MC design you started with, and since you've had a lot of time to grow, there's even more that can be updated. Most of your appearance, your pronouns and preferred terms, and your first name and nickname can be changed. The only parts that you can't edit are your last name, eye colour, and skin tone. Any changes you make will have gradually happened over the years since the last step. Once step 2 officially begins, the people of Golden Grove will already be used to it. For example, if your character wears glasses as a teenager, when they didn't as a kid, you will have had glasses for some time before the event of step 2. Wearing glasses will be considered a typical part of your character rather than a brand new detail. There's one exception. If your gender and or pronouns have changed, you have the option to not have come out yet. In that case, you'll do that during the prologue of step 2. You'll also have the chance to shift your relationship with Q and Tamarack. You can have an entirely different dynamic with them than what you did before you met 4 years ago. If you were close, you can have drifted apart to only consider the lead a neighbour. Or you could have found one of them annoying, but now they're your best friend, or anything else. You and everyone else in town will remember however things used to be, or if nothing is different. Prior choices didn't stop mattering just because the step has changed. And when the game is complete, whether Hugh and Tamarack are contesting, deferring, or teamworking and such will also depend on the past experiences you had together. In this demo, that doesn't happen yet. The system hasn't been built yet. Your relationship as neighbours, friends, and or crushes will not automatically change based on normal choices throughout the story. You can do whatever you like and still be close or distant from the leads. Now that it's step 2, the jealous, over, and envious of meters have unlocked in the dynamic set screen. You can't use this element if you're at neighbour status with the lead. As a reminder, the jealousy meter does nothing but let you add an extra element of drama to your life. Jealous over means the character is protective of their relationship and time with the other person. They can get upset if they're not getting the attention they want. Envious of means they wish they have what the other character has. They can imagine someone else has a better life. It's better looking, more talented, etc. That makes the person unhappy. By default, Q, Tamarack, and the MC will always be not jealous, which skips all that. You'll have to manually turn the jealous/envious aspect on for that kind of emotion to crop up. Lastly, Tamarack's and Q's teenage designs have slight variation options. Both have 2 possible hairstyles, shorter or longer, and there are a couple of accessories they may or may not wear. Right now, it's set at random. There is also a customization screen for each character to manually change their appearance. In this preview, the UI is not final yet. In the complete game, the characters' initial appearances will be influenced by their past experiences. And that's everything you need to know for this next stage of your life. We hope you enjoy a glimpse into growing up in Golden Grove. Okay. Eyes. I have the same eyes. So. Hair. Yes, okay. Is there more hair options? Okay, when I was 14, we're 14 now, right? My hair was starting to get curly, like just at random. Okay, no. Yeah, that seems fine. It was big and messy and sort of curly, but not really curly, but like the awkward stage of being not curly, but not being straight either. You know? Okay, not that one. This is sort of my hair now, I think. but when I was 14. Let's go back to this one. This one. So it's sort of curly, but it's not really curly, but it's like weird. Does that make sense? My hair also got darker. Sort of. Yeah. Not that one. Not that dark. This dark. Yep, my hair got darker. Wow. Okay. Glasses. Hello, glasses. Yep. I also got blue glasses. Oh, okay. Hello. Does it not? Okay. Oh wow. Do these do something? I don't see it doing something. Oh, it does. Okay. It's just very... Okay. Hello? Okay, yeah. Okay, this is close enough. Whatever. Alright. It's like very dark blue. Earrings. For school I stopped wearing earrings, I think. Did I stop wearing earrings? It's fine, you can't see anyway. Because yeah, we have to take them off PE. Alright. Oh, hello. Nose ring. Bandages. Nope. Extras. Other. Yay! And I got braces too. Alright. Yay! Who cheered? Okay. Love this for me. Yep. Accessories. Can I check? Okay, yeah, I almost forgot though. Huh. I started wearing only black, so that can change to that. Clothes. Oh, my computer's cleaning itself. Clothes. Okay, change this. Yay, customization. Hello? Okay. Yeah, it'll do. Whatever. Close. Head accessories. Nah. Okay. Yep. That is my dog. Hello. Yeah, I was average, I was medium. Alright. Custom multiple. Okay. Random pronoun selection. Oh, this is so awesome. Okay. They, them. Like that, I think. Oh, I don't know. That can be 40, that can be 35, 25. Okay, there. Yep. Alright, non-binary, let's go. Whoa. Oh, dismiss. Yep. Advanced. Okay. Wow. Alright. This is so awesome. Okay. Yay, mother. Oh, her hair got long, that's nice. Choose a sticker. Yeah, I'll stick with the books. Book stickers. Hello. Okay. Oh, no heart. Okay. Winter was a world of its own. The place you'd known had gone to sleep. Mum wished more than once that people could hibernate until spring the way bears did. Snow upon a mountain was worse than anywhere else in the state. It took hold of you whenever you went outside, trying to tug your shoes straight off your feet. That season, the cul-de-sac kids got rides to and from school. Q's mum and granny took turns. They would take you in the morning and get you again in the afternoon. Welcome to Pumpkin Party. Wow. Fawn's first grade. Okay. Happy for you all. Wow. All here today. On unlucky days, Mr. Lin would be the one who came at the end of the day, and sometimes your own mum would do it. Then there was the one time there'd been a huge misunderstanding, and the person who pulled up in front of the school was Mrs. Bowman. It was a nightmare. The ballet recital thing happened. Q stole the whole show. No one else could follow along. It was like the other dancers hadn't been told what was going to happen next. Maybe they hadn't been. It seemed like Q made some of those moves up. The other Mr. and Mrs. Bowman came to visit for the first time for their daughter's favourite holiday, Christmas. Her parents showed up in Golden Grove with bags over their shoulders and glasses on their faces. Tamarack looked just like them, and she looked miserable. They left after New Year's, only those two. Tamarack didn't go with her mum and dad. She stayed with her Omi and Opa. When that year wasn't so new anymore, you graduated elementary school. Mum brought you to the dinner table to celebrate after your first day of middle school. She always did. The two of you eventually reached regular status at the establishment. It helped that Yusuf, the friendly manager, became the new owner when the original one retired. He recognized your mum from the beginning. He might not have been next door, but you couldn't help but getting to know Yusuf, as much as you could know an adult anyway. Bedroom. Days, weeks, months, the time took a rest on your shoulders and they kept coming. A couple more years and you weren't even a kid anymore. You emerged from a pile of torn off calendar pages as a teenager. Add one extra year and you graduated again. At 14 years old, you were about to begin high school. Okay, so you're basically grown up, you could do whatever you wanted, rules didn't matter anymore. You wouldn't let anyone tell you what to do again. You'd have to be on your best behaviour, though you always were. Messing around would not be worth the amount of trouble you'd get in now. Following rules was always smartest. Okay, so thing is, I was like, I was not a good kid. I was not a good kid at 14. Oh no. You wouldn't let anyone tell you what to do again. Life might have changed rapidly for you, but it seemed like once you hit certain points of being old, stuff stayed consistent much longer. Mum and Mr. Lin had the same jobs. Mrs. Bowman kept on being retired. Mr. Bowman continued to pretend he was retired while working on the side. But that wasn't the only way to go. Mrs. Lin had new opportunities ahead. While her only child prepared for 9th grade, she was getting ready to rejoin the workforce. You met brand new people as you got older, and the time limits on your life ended. Serenity, Bianca, and many other schoolmates. You gained reputation for being hyperactive. You gained reputation for being gentle, for acting spunky, for acting polite. What was I like? I was polite, but I was also a vandal. On the side, you know, as like a part-time job. Full-time polite, part-time vandalism kid. Oh no. Okay, well, for being polite. Tamarack's social circle expanded too. You could fill several novels with memories of a little girl in her neighborhood on her own with Tamarack or both of you. And she was still around, but Tamarack had a lot more to consider these days than if she would be in her backyard or the forest clearing. There were also people you didn't meet. The infamous boys club disbanded a long time ago. Q Lin, Ren Murray, Baxter Ward, and you. Ren went by Ren only and had for a year. Calling him by his full name was strange. Not even Ren's parents did that. The relationship between Q and Ren was another thread of history. Sometimes it tensed, sometimes it slacked, but it had yet to snap. It was different when it came to Baxter. Their shared friendship with him ended, officially. He dyed his hair dark grey to pure black and stopped coming around after a while. The age gap between him and the rest of you was a chasm that couldn't be crossed anymore. Q didn't remember the last time Baxter had been on Acorn Road. Oh, that's kind of sad. You know, but like, people grow up, it's fine, whatever. But you wouldn't forget, it was heartbreaking. You loved being in the boys club. You'd outgrown it personally. It'd be silly to go hang out with people at club meeting. I think that's awesome, actually. Oh well, it was gonna happen sooner or later. We're glad Q didn't act like it was of friendship anymore. Rest in peace, boys club. But you wouldn't forget. After the group disbanded, when Q was no longer the boy who led the club, named after that trait, Q began to realize something. They weren't a boy. Q wasn't sure what they identified with, but they could say definitely it wasn't that. You weren't the only one who'd had to realize something like that about themselves. For now, all people needed to know was not to call them by anything gendered. As for you, everyone knew you were non-binary. Came out ages ago. You came out recently, around the same time as Q had. Everyone knew that you were non-binary now. You've been putting off sharing your own identity. You were going to come out before school started. You made discoveries about your own identity right before school was going to start. You were going to have to tell people. Yeah, okay. I already knew, but I didn't tell anyone. And I was like, okay, I'm not lying, but I'm kind of busy with school right now, so I don't want to let anyone know, you know? Okay, anyway. Summer vacation didn't last forever. Days of sunshine grew short and cold. Grey clouds gathered on the horizon. And then fall settled over Golden Grove once again. The storybook-esque depictions of autumn went to the very root of the forest and the heart of the town as the whole land glistened in its namesake colour. It'd been nearly 4 years to the day since you'd moved here, into the townhouse with the white picket fence at the centre of the cul-de-sac. The trees grew in taller and thicker. Mum got a chair for the porch, and her mailbox had to be replaced after an incident. But other than that, not much had changed with the outside of your home. One might have said the building was worse for wear after nearly 1,500 extra days of weathering the elements. But for how old it already was when you got there, there was nothing. Nothing for a house pushing 40 anyway. Very old house. Well, not that old, but like, you know. 4 years of your life was closing in on a third of your existence, and that first third you could scarcely remember, since you were a baby and then a toddler for most of it. So it worked out that nearly half the memories you'd made and kept were from right here, in this house, in this neighborhood, in this town. You'd lived in this one place longer than anywhere. It was simply normal, nothing more, nothing less, and you absolutely loved it. It was hell on earth. Circumstances had eventually reached mundane status, but there were worse things. You were safe here, content, life was good. You didn't wait to get out. God damn, it was awesome. There was nothing you were more grateful than that. Things were honestly miserable. You were safe here, content, life was good. Having day after day of certainty couldn't be complained about. You didn't want constant changes or to never know what would happen next. You wanted to know what you had, peace and comfort. You'd realised it even at 10 years old. That feeling had settled over you like a comfy blanket since the first fall. This place was home. You'd been down each path and road, seen every bush and tree, entered all the publicly accessible and even some not technically public buildings hundreds of times. There was something indescribably precious about that. It couldn't be replicated. Though that didn't mean the world was static. There were shifts that rippled out and impacted your experience, but each one felt neutral. The transition of seasons brought about an entirely different atmosphere. There were sights and sounds and feelings that could only happen during a few months before they were gone for a year. Other familiarities were lost to time for good, never to come back, but instead for their absence to eventually become old in their own right. You knew that acorns were beginning to fall along with the leaves, and that Bob's barbershop on the main street closed 8 months ago, and that every day there was a new rumour on what was going to replace it. Nothing concrete had been announced yet, but any day now for sure. Mrs. Bowman was stubbornly convinced it'd be a restaurant, an Italian restaurant. The town needed one of those, she would insist. Yeah, that was less about what she thought would actually happen and more about what she wished would come to be. Circumstances were never as perfectly straightforward as stuff that was the same, and things that were different, or what you could be certain of and what you were believing in. You could have a piece of your world that had been ever present, something that hadn't gone away for a moment, yet right before your eyes it could stop being what you originally known. The example that came to your mind that you had been imagining from the beginning was your left and right next door neighbours. Both Q and Tamarack were the same people you'd basically seen every day for 4 years. No single one of those days did you decide they weren't Tamarack or Q anymore. Of course, they always were literally who they were. But after everything they learned and seen, and from the basic concepts of getting older, the two were pulled in certain directions. Little by little, it couldn't be caught looking back a week or a month. Still, if you paused to remember them from your first meeting and compared that to who you were expected to encounter that day, you could see it clearly, starkly. They had changed. First, the companion of your youth, mix Q-I-U-L-I-N. They didn't introduce themselves like that to people anymore. Whether a person could spell their name or not wasn't their problem. If someone didn't know that, if they didn't know Q, and why would they care what a stranger believed about them? The only part of themselves they made sure to spell out were their pronouns, they, them. Q was born and raised in Golden Grove, a local through and through. And not merely any kid in town, they were the one to take center stage, and the one to reach out. Q made themselves ever present in the minds and hearts of the community. No matter what Q said or did, each person they crossed paths with would be as familiar with them as the gender they assigned at birth. Q wasn't sure about what they identified with, but they could say definitely it wasn't that. If they wanted to be free of that misconception, Q had no choice other than to keep explaining again and again, person to person. They hated it. Going around introducing himself in a way so people wouldn't immediately get it, but still put things together, was Q and everything when they were in elementary school. As a 9th grader, it was embarrassing. A lot of what Q believed in as a kid seems to just be that now, kid stuff. And at the tippy top of the list of childish ideals was the very concept of trying. Q stopped putting in effort with their classes. They started skipping ballet lessons, and they did not go out of their way to make others feel welcome. No, they rebuffed nearly anyone who dared wish for time in their presence. If Q didn't already like someone, 0 opportunities would be given for that opinion to change. Despite going from the most approachable phase in town to completely unavailable, Q remained exceedingly popular in school. The chill that overtook their demeanour only made them cooler, apparently. Okay. Huh. Yeah, this one. Sure. Accessories, choker, earrings. You know, yeah, sure. Emo phase. Let's go. Next. Starting from step 2, you can now manually set Q and Tamarac's dynamics towards you, as well as your own dynamics with each of them. This includes the newly available jealousy meter, which will always begin as not jealous and must be manually changed if you would like to add those aspects of your playthrough. You can also choose one character to be best friends with. Only one person can be your best friend, but you can be platonic best friends or best friends while crushing on one another. Being best friends with one character signals you have a closer relationship to them than the other character. Doesn't mean you can't be friends with or crushing on other character though. You can change best friends over the years, or even have no best friends at all. It's up to you. Okay. I was best friend Tamarack though. Teamworking, teasing, doting, teamworking, assuming, accepting. He looks so much cooler compared to me. Wow, okay. Yeah, okay, it's fine. What is... I was best friend Tamarack, wasn't I? Yeah, okay, it's done. But so what? If you didn't want to go above and beyond to be friends with everyone in the world, that'd make them a bad person. Of course, the shift in their attitude hadn't changed how you felt. You and Q had been close since you were 10. You still were. Q had been there for you from the start and never stopped, even when it didn't come as easily for them anymore. You'd done the same in return. Q knew they could rely on you. The small circle of Q's fond familiarity encompassed you completely. Because you're more than neighbours with someone, you will get to make an extra choice about your relationship, whether or not you're comfortable with automatic physical interactions. There are moments in the script where Q and Tamarack can potentially show affection and closeness through touching without you initiating it yourself. But they will know you well enough to avoid that if you're the type of person who doesn't like it. You can determine if embraces and snuggling and everything is fine, or if you only accept more brief and playful interactions like pat on the back. It's possible to want space under normal situations, but be okay with being comforted in difficult moments. Or you set it so Q and or Tamarack will never touch you on their own. Your choice here won't remove options to touch the leads from you. It only determines whether that lead believes you're fine with them touching you or not. Okay, awesome. This game is like so inclusive. This is crazy. So much effort was put into it. Like you can clearly see the amount of work that's like, going into it. He was having to drain himself so he completely. There was no reason to stay a distance. It wasn't unusual for you and Q being close. You'd poke and nudge each other all the time. If you didn't reach out or touch you didn't want them to. It was only different when things got difficult. Over the years, you made it clear that you didn't want to be randomly touched. You never did. I don't know. I liked initiating hugs, but I don't know if I liked getting hugged randomly. I can't remember. Let me think. Okay, it wasn't unusual for you and Q being close. You'd poke and nudge each other all the time. Now second, the childhood best friend, Miss Tamarack Bowman. She had become a young lady. Her reckless romps through the woods shifted into quiet nature walks. The neat clothes she carefully selected weren't suited for that kind of exploring anyway. And she was not okay with them getting full of holes like she was as a kid. She approached most things in life with great delicacy, like she was living in a world of glass, or less whimsically, as if she was always walking in eggshells. Tamarack joined the music program during middle school and had played the cello ever since, a feat that had required plenty of patience and a tough sitting around. But all those new options, priorities, and decisions didn't speak to any level of decisiveness on her part. It wasn't just the loss of pure wild abandon, only someone too young to know better could have. Tamarack didn't have a shred of that certainty she used to. Some days in some ways she could come across more like her almost 70-year-old grandparents than a girl not even a quarter their age. Then other moments she leaned into typical teenage priorities more than anyone else in her class. And neither seemed to make her particularly confident. Well, bits and pieces were truly Tamarack. Maybe all of them, maybe none. She hadn't managed to convince most people that there was a clear picture they could accept and understand as her. Probably because she didn't understand herself either, or she couldn't bring herself to commit to what she did know. So 4 years on, and she'd yet to blend into the harmony of this close-knit community. If Tamarack was in the room, odds were good she'd be the least acquainted person there. Wherever she went, Miss Tamarack Bowman carried herself with the presence of a visitor, never a regular. Oh, okay. I don't know. Yeah, this one, sure. Yeah, headband. Okay, let's go. Best friends, whoa! Testing, praising, accepting. Oh, look at my dumb little braces. I look so stupid. Oh, she looks so unsure. No, that's so sad. Okay, let's go. But there were some truths that no one doubted. She could count on you, and you could do the same with her. You didn't care what the town thought. Tamarack was the greatest friend you'd had in your entire life. She wasn't some nobody. She was a little girl who threw a paper airplane at you the first time she ever caught sight of you. Tamarack and you went through being newcomers side by side. No matter how much time passed, no matter how much the two of you grew up, the promise you made to always be friends would not be broken. Together you'd made it through whatever future unknowns you might face. You and Tamarack hugged and held hands. You were okay being close in whatever way. In totally normal for you to bump each other and lean on one another. Okay. I did hold hands a lot with people, but I didn't like people hugging me without me hugging them first, if that makes sense. So it was totally normal for you to bump each other and lean on one another. Okay, step 2. Whoa! Crazy. Okay. Anyways, that was sinking further into your psyche than you should. You decided while shaking yourself out of a daze. You were at home. Oh wow, more lived than last time. You were at home, sitting on a lumpy chair that tried its best to be a shade other than tan, which it was. It needed a good command to call itself cream orange or pale yellow. The building creaked without anybody doing anything. A tickling and talking tapped at the back of your head. The place you lived was sort of the third member of the S family. It had its own ways of being and long-time quirks, while still taking off the parent and sister it received. In the time you'd lived there, you'd added a few of your own nicks and scratches to the house. Some of the old furniture was replaced with brand new old furniture from the local antique store and the thrift shop. The wall clock was from the former and the lamp was found at the latter. Q said once you couldn't tell the difference between what was sold in those places. It was ancient either way. However, the gap in quality between the two was easy for you to see. Your wandering gaze went down towards the decorative branches in the vase, a cold fire of brown-red leaves and another sign of autumn. From there you kept going until your focus was finally back to what you were doing. The tabletop was piled with books, packets, pencils and stuff. And it magically all had to fit into a single bag, plus leave room for lunch. You began packing for school tomorrow. It wasn't any normal day of school. It was the first day, and it wasn't a normal start of a new year either. This was 9th grade. You were a high school freshman. Mum impressed upon you what an accomplishment it was. If the learning system was a triathlon, you were out of the water, off a bike, and lining up to begin the race. Your mum wasn't especially sporty herself, so she offered as an alternative that if this was a movie or book, the third act would just be beginning. That was the best part. For as much as Mum hyped it up, your transition into the highest level of public schools wasn't as immense as it was for other 14-year-olds. You'd been attending Riverview Peak since grade 6 already, with its gold, black and navy official colours and beloved freshwater otter mascot. The district of Golden Grove was small enough that middle school and high school shared a building. I was always a relief you had your school and you stick with it until graduation. It was whatever. Riverview Peak could have been better, it could have been worse. You felt good about that, you were well acquainted with those halls. Heck yeah, the place was a part of who you were, go Otters. Hell yeah, that place was a part of who you were, go Otters. Was Riverview Peak awful? Yes. Did you want to risk moving somewhere else? No. Not as if it mattered either way, going to any school was miserable. This could have been much better if you've gone somewhere else. Okay, hell yeah, that place was a part of who you were, go Otters. Let's go Otter mascot. You nudged a 20-page schedule between 2 textbooks, hoping it wouldn't get completely crumbled. The beginning of classes wasn't the only special occasion happening tomorrow. Golden Grove's middle and at the same time high school started slightly differently than its elementary school did. This semester, your first day of school shared the same date as your anniversary of moving here. It'd been 3 years and 364 days since your life became what it was. Then there was a groan. The house let you know you had company. Mum came out from the kitchen. She kept some distance, staying under the opening arch of the room, and gave the side of her light washed jeans a pat. Her shirt was a full floral blouse. Ironically, she looked as fresh as a spring bloom. Good morning. Mum had let her hair get longer already. Besides the trim every few months, it got to just keep growing. That was new, though she still wore real opals wherever she went. Right now, she was having a necklace moment. The stone hanging from her neck looked nearly pried from a mineshaft. No perfect teardrop shape or flawless angles, it was natural. Thinking of her, who she was as a person and who she was to you, you felt. It was so lucky to have a parent like Mum. You loved her, she was your friend as much as a parent. Hanging out with Mum was fun. Things were good between you and her. You got along most days. The shimmy you had was fine. You could coexist with her. Stuff was not great. Frustrated. Complicated. Of course you love your mum. So if you're completely disconnected. Just gonna have to take you off. Wow. Okay. Because you can swear, but you can also not swear. So you can be PG. She seems alright. Things are good between you and her. You got along most days. You and her were still the S Club, taking life on as a team. In fact, that had only gotten truer as time went by, since you'd gotten old enough to be more of an actual help to her. It was cool. We never jumped to go on mum-daughter activities, but there was a mutual understanding between you and her that kept peace as much as possible. Okay, you released a breath long and slow. People wouldn't be able to call you by the right pronouns unless you told people. Oh, it's my coming out. I don't think I ever officially came out. I just mentioned... Did I ever come out? No. What? Oh no. Okay, whatever. People wouldn't be able to call you by the right pronouns unless you told people. You'd resolved to do it before school really kicked off. You weren't going to wait another year, and bringing it up in the middle of the year was only going to make it harder. Mum had to be the first to know. You couldn't hold it in for a second. You need to get it over with. Now was better than later. Wait until she was done with work. But you tell Mum later you have to be first to know. Okay. I think I'd want to tell Q first. Especially because, like, the relatability portion, you know? Q, Tamrak, and then my mother, I guess. But you tell Mum later Q has to be first to know. Your lips stayed still shut. Your fingers didn't twitch. Mum took on the job of making conversation herself. Quick question. If you were going to get your own cell phone, what colour would you want? A cell phone? You never had a phone in your entire existence, and your same-age neighbours already did. Q got their phone at 11, and as soon as they were in middle school. It saved Mrs. Lynn a bunch of hassle from all the people who called the house or their own cell phones only to ask about Q. Though these days Q ignored practically every call they got, including from their parents. Send it in a text if you want a response. That was their way of life. Hell yeah, dude. Or pal, I don't know. Tamarak's mum and dad brought her one when she was 13, officially a teenager. It was a sore spot in the Bowman family. Mrs. Bowman the elder didn't think that gadget was necessary. They're more of a distraction than anything else, she declared loud enough for the whole neighborhood to hear. This town was small and safe. She wondered what the younger Mr. and Mrs. Bowman thought could even happen. After her husband reminded Mrs. Bowman that Tamarak's main way of communicating with her parents was over the telephone lines, the fighting stopped. Thanks, that's gonna help. Yep. Very professional. Mum, I'd appreciate if you could bring one around with you. I'd like to have a way of reaching you. I've been saving up. Phones get priced every 6 months, and then there's the monthly fees and so on. Mum didn't expand on the so on, sadly pushing her hand in front of her. Her daughter knew the value of $1 already. You never had the chance not to. But you were in high school now. You should have a phone. High school. That was the S family's milestone for gifting their youth with a phone. Each household on the street had a different answer for the same thing. Of course, I'm taking you to the store with me. I'm not going to choose it for you. I'll have to sneak out of work a bit early for this. We'll need to go to the next town over to get the best selection, and I want this to be done before tomorrow. Wait. How early is early? I'm seeing you in Tamarak today. It can't wait for some other time either. Tamarak had been on pins and needles waiting to talk to her parents before the start of the school year. She wouldn't so much as look at a phone until you were there. And Q hadn't left their house for days. You had to go over there and check on them. Don't worry, this doesn't mean you've got to flake out on seeing your friends. I know you want to see them. I'll swing around to pick you up. Late afternoon, early evening, thereabouts. You'll have time for it all. Alright. Getting a phone didn't excite you. But if it was gonna get in the way, you weren't gonna complain. Thank you, dear. Mum's thanks came with a laugh. She should not be having that much fun. Take care. You too, have a good day at work. You waved Mum off with a wide arc of your arm. She threw on a yellow cardigan, the most vibrant piece of clothing in her entire wardrobe, and went out the front door. You couldn't hang around much longer yourself. With a whirlwind of emotion, you shoved the supplies into your bag. You start with Q. They still need to know something about you before anyone else. Soon your pack morphed into a balloon of compressed knowledge, a year's worth of reading and pens and things forced into a single spot, the zipper strained to keep it all in. You knocked on the top. It felt like a solid mass against your knuckles. Well, you did good with that. You left it there and left the house. It was cold. Obviously it was cold. That didn't stop you. You were focused on your mission, pressing ahead step by step. You cut across the lawn, went through the gate, and stood inside the cul-de-sac. From there, you headed right. The reddish Porsche of the Lynns was stop number 1. You reached the front of their house and rang the bell. Nothing happened at first. There wasn't the instant reaction you'd get from Mrs. Bowman, but the chance for a prompt, adult-like response passed by too. You were left waiting longer than somebody normally had to stand at a doorstep. You had no idea what to expect. This could take another few seconds or a few minutes. Your gaze wandered. It landed on the row of shadows stretching across the ground. They came from a railing, but were exactly like the bars of a jail cell. Come on. Someone had to answer, right? You had to get in there. You had to see Q. And then the door moved. You immediately straightened your back. On the other side was Mr. Lynn. He hadn't left for the day. You were guessing he had some real estating he had to do this afternoon. He did have a coat on. It kind of looked like a biker jacket, and he was a kind of biker, just not a motorcycler. Mr. Lin kept it only half zipped to show his professional button-down shirt and tie combo underneath. That was definitely the man to talk about buying something that cost hundreds of thousands of dollars. Just look at how his glasses matched his eyes and the way he put his hands completely on his hips. Okay, Mr. Lin was great. You thought he was goofy, but that was fun. He made you nervous. Mr. Lin acted with so much certainty that it left none for you. You really got caught into that humiliating surprise to you. Instantly, okay. Mr. Lin was great, sure. Mr. Lin opened his lips next to show the grin behind them. Hey, Reed. Thanks for taking this time to come over. Now you're a visitor, our charming Q won't mind. He chuckled quietly, though a cloud of concern put an end to the sunny mood he'd started with. The Lin parents had been totally shut out by their teen. They had to rely on the neighbor kid completely. You were their only lifeline left. Not even Ren was a for sure thing these days. But you'd want to see Q whether they asked for that or not. Come in, please. Don't let me hold you up. Thank you. Mr. Lin moved aside. You passed through the door. Your host followed after, but you got ahead of him after a few steps. Just head up to their room. You know where it is. I'll be there. I'll be here. I cannot read. Pardon that. You didn't stop walking. You didn't want to stay here. You didn't want to stay there. It was hard to explain the way a space could stay so much the same and still be so different. The living room didn't decide to get spotless tidy yesterday because it knew there'd be a guest. It was always like that. But the house didn't feel nice or neat anymore. Somehow it seemed sharp, stiff, and inviting. Every single time your feet touched the floor, you braced yourself for the crack of eggshells. At the top of the stairs, you got a different kind of jolt. You weren't alone there. Mrs. Lin stood in front of Q's room, facing directly towards you. It's good to see you. She had on a simple dress, brown from the top to bottom. Her slippers were white. You didn't have to check out the window to see autumn here. Mrs. Lin displayed the season in action. Her dark blue hair was pulled back into a bun that took even more colour away from her. Though the hairstyle did make her earrings stand out, gold leaves with purple stones, she'd worn those for years. Focusing on her that closer, you noticed her mouth pulled into a faint smile. I've been knocking. Mrs. Lin twisted around and touched the door again. She stared at the wall between her and her child. That must have been exactly how she was before she heard someone coming. Q hasn't answered, but they would if they knew you were here. Speaking at the plank of wood, she stopped talking to you. Q, your friend is here. She will be coming in. You leaned in, ears perked. It was dead silent. Still, Mrs. Lin backed away. That was the most the mum could do. She kept the smile for you. You can stay as long as you like. And then she vanished down the way you came. Okay. Mrs. Lin relaxed. You never had to worry about what happened. Mrs. Lin could be so silly. She's so silly, okay. She was rubbed you the wrong way. You got awkward around how you never knew what to do. But, okay, okay. You got awkward around her. You never knew what to do. That's me around most parents. You took Mrs. Lin's parents. Oh no! You took Mrs. Lin's place in front of the door, the moving door, the door with not a single sound coming through. You twisted your fingers together. You'd done this before. You could visit Q's room, and Mrs. Lin said you were going to do it. So, first you knocked yourself. You didn't think they'd answer. You just wanted to be polite. Q, I'm actually here. I'd like to come in. You twisted the handle and pushed the door open. It didn't go smoothly. The frame wasn't warped like your bedroom door. Something was blocking the other side. Okay, Q hadn't been spending their time in there cleaning. Not a surprise. It was a mess. That's a mess. Come on now. I mean, it's a little messy, sure. It was a mess. Q's personal space was the only part of the then household that had permission to fall to pieces. The room was perfect for a game of I Spy. Your eyeballs were overwhelmed with the amount of stuff in front of them. Trying to pick out any specific thing would take complete focus. And in the center of all this was Q himself. He waded through a shallow sea of abandoned clothes and forgotten note pages. You didn't have to imagine eggshells anymore. One wrong step and you'd crunch something for real. Standing at the side of the bed, you tilted your head straight down. Wow. Q Lin. You'd made it. They lay on their stomach, face flat against the mattress, feet propped up on the pillows. Like their dad, Q had a jacket on. Unlike Miss Lin, that wasn't a sign they were going someplace. Q hadn't been outside in 100 hours or something, and you'd bet they had their blue plaid coat on the whole time. Strands of brown hair rested over their shoulder and mingled with the fluffy trim of their hood. They kept a small part of it tied into a ponytail. They'd found a hairstyle that worked at 10 and stuck with it. Between the mix of faux fur and thick mass of hair, you could pick out Q's accessories. They were wearing a pair of sharp dangle earrings and a black choker. A pair of skinny jeans stuck out from the bottom of their oversized coat. Q didn't go as far as wearing shoes in bed, they just had socks on. Good. Seeing Q from below was something you were used to. They were taller than you for years. Now, as soon-to-be high schoolers, you stood eye to eye with each other. Okay. Some people could still call them Autumn, you didn't. Some people could still call them Autumn, including you. We had a different nickname for them. Some still called them Autumn, including you, though you had your own nickname for them too. Yeah, okay. I don't really call people nicknames. I don't do nicknames. Some people still call them Autumn, you didn't. Q was Q. A low moan escaped from between Q's lips and the mattress they were pressed up against. It went on and on until they didn't have air left in their chest. It was a greeting or a cry for help, one of those. Hey, I'm here. Q has been so long. I'm late. I'm too late. Q's dead. So, doing good there, Q? Are you okay? I worry about you sometimes. Hello, Q. I've broken into your room. It's nice to see you. Okay. Hello, Q. I've broken into your room. Oh no, there's a criminal. I'm being robbed. They twisted their head onto its side. Half of Q's face appeared, and half of their mouth was pulled into a smirk. You didn't need to see the other side to tell that much. The sparkle in their eyes made it clear. Hi. I'm glad you came over. I've been so busy getting ready for tomorrow and everything. They've been prepping for tomorrow? Mysteriously, you couldn't believe that. My will is almost finished. You coughed. Okay, Q then. Fluttering their eyes closed, Q kicked their legs through the air. They grinned sweet as could be. Read, I'm leaving you my notebooks and whatever pages you can find. Their feet froze mid-arc. The bed squeaked and Q's eyes opened again. Burn them. I promise I will. You clasped one of Q's limb's hands. I promise I will. Hold on, what does the rest of the will say? You can't promise that, Q. It's too cruel. Oh, you know I won't. I'll toast more than the flames in your honor. What? No. Okay. I promise I will. You clasped one of Q's limp hands. Q just lay there, making a real show of being on their deathbed. They spoke to you as gently as if this might be their last word. Thanks. Which it wasn't, because nothing was wrong with them. To prove that, they gave you your hand a playful squeeze. Don't tell my parents. You're a hero. Your friend faded right in front of you. It wasn't an act anymore. Q pressed their face into the blanket again. High school is a death sentence. Teachers should fail me now and save everyone the trouble. Is that why you aren't coming out of your room? If I never go anywhere, ever, then my parents can't be surprised when I don't go out to school tomorrow either. I figured I should help them get used to it before the big day. And maybe if I do it long enough, people will forget I'm here. Oh no, okay. I don't know how to, okay, I'm not gonna forget you. School can be hard, but it's better than you think. That plan sucks. You're gonna have to come out sometimes. You can't live like this. So you wanna do homeschooling instead? You have to go. Can I hide here too? Good luck. You're not the one who doesn't like school. Oh. Oh no. Thing is I'm not any better in real life because I did drop out when I was 14. I'm back now. Don't worry about that. But like, oh god. Okay. I'm not gonna forget you. Yay. Okay. Yeah, you can do that. Q moved their face off the bed again. They needed to take a deep breath. You don't have to stand there, you know. Sit down. You sat on the edge of the bed, and it was the very edge. The mattress sank down with your weight pressed into it, only a few inches of space. Hugh hadn't left much room anywhere else. Hugh kept staring at you from below. They had shrugged, using a single shoulder. That was enough. No way would Mum and Dad let me skip school to stay in my room, even I'm not that stupid for real. My real plan is that I'm going to move into my other room tomorrow and live there instead. Pretty clever, huh? They're so worried about me being in here that when I do leave the house, they'll just be glad about it. They'll never see phase 2 coming. Q pressed their hands into the blanket and lifted themselves with the effort of having done 1,000 push-ups. You bobbed high and low on the bed while Q got comfortable in a different way. They sat cross-legged. Your faces were a lot closer, but they weren't looking at you. Q stared through a window, the one overlooking their backyard. In the distance, a child's fortress stood among the trees. Could that protect them? I don't want to see anyone out there. I don't want to be anyone. I don't feel like I am anyone. Oh, me too, babe. Let's go. They hid their hands between their naughty legs. Q's head and back bowed forward. They were under a weight no one could see, but that didn't mean it was fake. Expectations were very real. What about you? Do you get it? Have you figured this out? No, okay, I haven't figured it out, not for sure. I don't have it figured out, not before. I know how you feel, Q. Actually, I need to say something about that today. Wow, I'm glad you brought this up. Figured it out. Q, you're gonna think this is funny. Oh well, that's, I'll tell you, I'll just tell you. It's not that was funny, Q would think that too. Okay, yeah. Okay, wow, well, that's, you kept stammering. Q lifted an eyebrow. Their voice got higher too. Playfulness made everything lighter. What are you trying to tell me? Don't get my hopes up. You told them the truth. You prepared a written note for this and give it to Q. So clenching, you pulled out a note and prepared for this and give it to Q. You told them the truth. Okay, I want to say it out loud. I, Q. Yes, me. Wow. Okay. Well. I hope you don't mind me talking to you about myself. I don't. Seriously, go on. Q cupped their hands behind their ears to have extra hearing powers. It was so silly you felt a little better. Then, alright, the thing is, I'm non-binary. My pronouns are she, he, or they. Huh. He blinked once, twice. Then their face changed. A shining grin eclipsed any gloom in the world. Q seemed so confident, so wise. He hadn't seen them this certain about anything in years. He put faith in what Q was about to say. I'm amazed, we're on the same level of health. Or not, he swallowed. Sorry, I should have said it was cool first and then said how it's gonna suck. They closed their eyes and whispered. You barely heard it. It's cool, Reed. I always knew you belonged in that boys' club. You could start a new chapter. I join your version. You'd be the boy and I'd be your club. Let's go! Woo! Okay, I will, as long as you're the vice president. Maybe. You had done this before, telling everybody they'd known about who they really were. They were the first in this neighborhood to do it. They must have thought they were clearly alone. But that wasn't true, not for them and not for you. Okay, let's go. Thank you for being there, Q. I wish everybody could get it like you. I haven't told anyone else. I wanted you to be first. Okay, that solves everything. I'm done. Okay, yeah. I haven't told anyone else. I wanted you to be first. That's what I thought. Well, actually, wait. You might have told your mum first, but you didn't. Nice, I win. Who's gonna find out next? Are you even telling anybody else? Yes, I am. The whole town is gonna know soon. That sucks. I know you. Just remember that. You can lean on me, Reed. Except for tomorrow, because I'm not gonna go to school. Oh yeah, that was how this all started. You both laughed. He kept looking at you. Q's eyes didn't flaunt how dead inside they were anymore. Suddenly, they were alive. Okay, Q was up to something. Hey, I've got to give you something. Q unwrapped their arms and then untwisted their legs. They hopped off the bed, wandering towards their desk. They grabbed their most recent notebook. Q had gone through a lot in the time you know them. No matter how much Q loved one, it never survived more than half a year. But the notebook was a signature part of who they were, keepers of Q's important reminders. Notebooks they relied on changed size and style over the years as Q themselves did. This one wasn't falling apart at the seams yet. It was packed with tabs and bookmarks and other paper-sized things Q wanted to keep track of. The notebook was too big to fit in any pocket, so they kept it in their room or tossed it into their school bag before going out. If it didn't end up in their bag, then oh well. Q flipped to a random page and started scribbling away with a pencil they'd also scrounged up from the desk. Completely hunched over their work, they wore at super speed. You leaned in, hoping to get a peek, but that fluffy hood kept getting in the way. Then Q stopped. They tucked the pencil behind one ear. The momentary silence was ended with a crinkly, loud tear. Q held a piece of paper high. They spun around and presented it to you directly. Their page was bone white, divided by blue lines printed across it. The words it had to say were, Happy 4-year friendship anniversary from Q-Lin Actually. Happy 4-year friendship anniversary from Q-Lin Actually. The message was funded by Q signature stars with no lines in the middle. Wow. Oh, okay, Thanks, Q. Then you accepted the gift. You were going to keep that nice and safe. Okay, then you said the gift. You were going to keep that nice and safe. Q's arms flopped to their side. They walked around their room aimlessly. They kicked their legs out with each step, barely bending their knees. Yeah, I figured you like that. You're welcome. They brushed their hair around their ear, cocking their head. Doing all that knocked the pencil out. It clattered to the ground. Q pretended that didn't happen though. They kept smirking. Somehow they were so smooth even when they really shouldn't be. Your grip on the note shifted. The paper was thin, crisp. If you weren't careful, you'd get a cut. You folded it in half once, then twice. It became a neatly compressed square that fit into your pocket. You put it away. Alright, that was a good time to go. Tamrak needed you too. You found your voice. Q, I'm gonna leave now. Bye. Sure, tell me when I said hi. And if you want to see me later, you can figure out where to find me. It wasn't a challenge, it was a statement. You could do that. You left Q-Lin and shut the door behind you. Mr. and Mrs. Q-Lin were together in the living room, waiting. When you hit the stair landing, they looked at you. Neither of them asked how it went, but you could see the hope in their faces. They hadn't realized or couldn't accept that Q was already doing as well as they could be right now, which was amazing. You couldn't magically solve all their problems, even though they sometimes still called you a sorcerer. All you could do was be there for a little while and help them forget about it. Giving a strained smile, you returned to the cul-de-sac and the rest of your day didn't try to stop you. You marched right through the center of the road, passing your house and reaching the other side. For the second time, you came to stand in front of your neighbor's door. You rang the bell. An answer came immediately. Coming, I'm coming, hold your horses. A series of thumps followed the shout. You wrapped your arms around yourself, waiting. The door swung inwards. Wafts of perfume and a long, worn-out breath escaped through the opening. The trip down the main hall got longer every year, as the woman in front of you would swear. As grandma right there, you didn't mind her much. It's hard to know what to expect with Mrs. Bowman. She could be really nice and super unpleasant. Mrs. Bowman was such a cool old lady. She was always so funny. Tamarack had your sympathy. She wasn't too bad to deal with. Mrs. Bowman was awful. You had to get away from there ASAP. Oh, okay. Mrs. Bowman was such a cool old lady. She was so granny to you. Yep. She dressed as glamorously as ever, with a poofy blouse and a statement belt buckle. That golden double loop acted as her anchor. She always needed something to keep her grounded. Besides, Granny could never be too old to get dolled up. It didn't matter that her knees didn't work the way they used to, and the last hints of blonde had faded from her hair. She also had to chop the ends off several years ago. The split ends had gone out of control. Though her hair hadn't been so long, removing inches still left plenty. Pure white strands framed muted red eyes. Granny leaned her cheek on the doorframe. She shared a smile for a hello. I didn't know you and Tamarack had plans, but that's good. Perfect timing. I have told Opal repeatedly how lucky she was to have such a kind-hearted child. I say the same about Tamarack. Lord knows there are some true rabble-rousers out there that... She stopped herself and shook her head. The ribbony bit on her shirt flapped like a flag of surrender. That doesn't matter. You're not here for me to talk your ear off. You're here for your friend. Tamarack is in the backyard of all things. I suggest you go right through the house. That'll get you to her. It'd work. It may or may not be simpler than going through the front door and out the back, but it'd work. Have a good day, Angel. Granny shut the door behind her. You turned the other way and hopped off the porch. The Bowman backyard, huh? You saw it all the time out windows from your own yard, but it'd been ages since you stepped foot in there. You didn't because Tamarack didn't. How could it be if you went into a backyard by yourself? Tamarack had gone over every inch of that patch of earth 100 times. There was no magic left to find. She'd outgrown her childhood playground like a growing tree in a too small pot. You shimmied between the mailbox and the bushes guarding your house. Mom kept those trimmed. They weren't as wild as when you moved in. Oh, okay. That didn't mean they were small and you weren't a kid anymore. Leaves tickle your chin as you pass by. Branches brush your chest. Your house was psyching you up for the day. You caught through the gap and rounded the corner. A narrow path opened onto the edge of a far-reaching forest. The line between the woods and the backyard was clear. Mr. and Mrs. Bowman made sure that land they were paying for stayed in tip-top form. It didn't matter that the people living there only enjoyed its beauty maybe a couple times a month. What if a guest saw their grass was a less than flawless cut form? That concern from others didn't mean they were going to replace perfectly good patio furniture. It'd been 4 years and they still had the same table and chairs. And you bet money those were already old when you first saw them. There was something new there though. The bag sat nicely on the tabletop. Tamarack's childhood messenger bag had to join the Bowman collection of antiques that were to be seen, not touched, before it fell apart completely. The new pretty pack could hold just as much as the original. It was also mostly brown again. The strap, top flap, and bottom support all were, but the center was a pastel pink. Mrs. Bowman got it for her lovely young granddaughter, and she had assured everyone that Mr. Bowman helped. Shifted your focus over to the bag's owner. Tamarack sat motionlessly on the tire swing her grandparents had made for her. Oh, she has glasses. She had her arms wrapped around the top, tied in a bow. The tips of her pink boots dragged against the ground. That was where she was staring at the dirt. Heavy bangs covered the third of her face. A pearl-covered headband peeked out from the crown of her head. Tamarack's hair had gotten so long. She pretty much always kept those coppery gold threads contained in a braid. She hadn't bothered to put on a coat. A purple knit sweater over some kind of lacy trimmed shirt was enough. That was Tamarack Bowman, though you also knew her by nickname of Tamarack Bowman for you. Seemed like this was a classless day. Wire frames rested against her nose. When Tamarack had to get braces, she insisted on having contacts too. She could not live with both of those at the same time. Like me. Then she said sorry if that hurt your feelings. Oh, she didn't mean it that way. You could have glasses and braces. There was only something wrong with that when it was her. But Tamarack didn't like wearing contacts either. Contacts were only worth the annoyance if she was going somewhere with lots of people. You walked over to the rock pathway. She heard you coming. Tamarack glanced up. Tamarack's tense features couldn't stop a smile from spreading over her cheeks. Read. Yep. My angel princess. Okay, hi. She lurched forward with a burst of motion, reaching out towards you. The tire she dangled on swung with energy. You went over before she could fall further away from where she'd begun. Okay. You grabbed her hand. Your palms smacked together. She twisted her fingers around yours. Tamarack became suspended diagonally in air. Gravity tried to pull you apart, but you ignored that law of physics for her. You made it. Her braid floated in that breeze. Yeah, I've got to be here for you. Are you ready to talk about your parents? Oh shit. I can't read, oh no. Okay, hold on. Are you ready to talk to your parents? She nodded, her jaw set firmly. I'm gonna call my mum. I'll do it fast. Mr. and Mrs. Berman, the younger, you'd met them. You wanted to see Tamarack's friends the first time they visited. When they visited since then, you'd seen them again. You were always with Tamarack. You hadn't really bumped into them since. You'd avoided them since, Okay, you hadn't really bumped into them since. Tamarack gripped your hand hard. Narrow eyebrows shoved her eyes nearly closed. Tamarack plucked her naturally bushy brows. We have enough to worry about already. High school is starting tomorrow. Who knows what Mum might try to bring up if I had to call by myself. Her words came out frazzled and emphasized in a bunch of different places. Then she sighed. Tamarack unpeeled one of her tightened fists and adjusted the crook of her arm to make sure she didn't fall right out of the tire. Thanks for letting me drag you into this. Tamarack sighed again. Her head drifted lower and lower until her chin rested against the rubber. Despite the unsteadiness of her position, she was now secure. You gave her the okay. That's what you were here for. It made her grin, a real grin with her lips parted and everything. Oh. Ever since Tamarack had those braces put on, she almost never smiled with her teeth. You knew how self-conscious she was about them, but that rule went away when it was safely just the two of you. But Reed? She rolled her face over, swishing her cheek into the grooves of the tire. No effort was being expended. My phone is in the bag over there. Leggings don't have pockets. She kicked her leg towards the table 10 feet away from her. The swing weakly twirled her around. Tamarack attempted to keep eye contact with you during the spin. Could you get it for me, so I don't have to climb out of this thing, please? Great yourself, girl. Okay. Huh? Sure. Her hand slipped through yours. Thanks. You're the best friend I've ever had. Tamarack stayed sitting pretty well. You fetched her needed tool. If Granny's throne was the green drawing room chair, the tire swing was Tamarack's. You undid the flap of her bag. Inside was a smudge-free smartphone. The screen crinkled at you. The screen winked at you with a glint of light. It was ready to be collected. You grabbed it. In the seconds you needed to lift the phone and close the bag, you took off Tamarack's stuff. A lip gloss, hairbands, her wallet tucked into a side pocket, a white box, probably a first aid kit. There was an open bag of something from the corner store tucked into the corner. It could have been chips or cookies. You couldn't make out the logo. It was just like when you were kids, besides the wallet. Tamarack never had money growing up. Hey, come on. Coming. You stepped away from the table and passed Tamarack her phone. Thank you. Tamarack scrolled across the screen and then she typed. She put her phone to her ear and waited. Oh, she's got nice little stickers on it. It rang repeatedly. Mrs. Bowman, not Granny, the dancer. You guess she had anyway. Tamarac's face was suddenly covered by a stiff mask of the real thing. If that wasn't enough of a clue, she started talking. Hi, Mom. Thanks for doing this. Rita's here too. We've been hanging out. Tamarack stuck the phone in your face. Any closer than your nose would have been. You would have ended the call for her. Hello. See? Yeah, Mrs. Bowman. Tamarack wasn't alone. She would never be on her own as long as you could help it. My mom says hello to you too. And so your role in this ended. You'd done what you could. The rest was on Tamarack. She rolled her head while you listened to a list of generally pleasant replies. Yep, that's right. Don't worry. She couldn't stay for the New Year check-in. The big day of class hadn't happened yet. Tomorrow it would be a perfect afternoon, or she could get trapped in a bush and miss the entire thing. From the side of the conversation you got to hear, her mum never strayed from the safe subject of school, which meant that there was even less to discuss. The closer Tamarack got to getting. Oh no, I'm losing my ability to read and talk at all. Oh yeah. Okay, look in, guys. The closer Tamarack got to getting to wrapping this up, the higher her pitch got. I love you, Todd, I love him too, bye. Tamarack tapped the red button on her screen with a thumb. Then she collapsed all over the tire. It was like that one painting with the melted clocks that teachers and YouTubers like to show. Tamarack's limbs were practically dripping off her. Seeing her that way was wrong. She looked so out of place. You couldn't help but pause there and acknowledge how wonderful it was that Tamarack was still here. Living with her Omi Nopa was meant to be temporary, and it had already been nearly half a decade. Her parents kept in touch, and they visited, sometimes more, sometimes less. That inconsistency meant that there was never a sense of normalcy around them, no matter how many months went by. As soon as things were calm enough that you thought Tamarack was going to be in Golden Grove forever, her parents would become so re-involved it was as if they'd be packing her bags any day. You lived with a thorn stuck in your chest, one that dug in deeper with each passing season no matter what, and every so often got jabbed by the unexpected. Maybe that had something to do with why Tamarack came across like an outsider. People were holding their breath around her, bracing for when it wouldn't be a false alarm, for when she'd be gone. And you knew for sure that Tamarack struggled with seeing her own presence in that light. She told you about it. How much longer would Tamarack Bowman be living right next door? Slowly, Tamarack disentangled herself from the tire swing, one leg coming after the other, not letting go of the rope too soon. Nobody wanted her to get hurt right now. The swing did as it was made to do, swing, but Tamarack got onto her feet. The first thing she did with her freedom was return her phone to her bag. Oh no. Do I add a log? Yep. My computer is slowing down. She stood with her back to you, staring at her cell phone for any sudden movements. Her parents would never call back. They wouldn't. They wouldn't text soon after a chat either. But what if they did? But they didn't. Oh no, she looked so sad. Tamarack twisted her head to the side. You could see her face again, part of it at least. The few inches that weren't covered by her hair or shoulder, or weren't completely impossible to make out from your point of view. She smiled. That was enough. We did it. Yay. Nice work, Tamarack. You too. Mr. and Mrs. Bowman, the parents. You guess you could separate the Mr. and Miss. Oh no! You guess you could separate Mr. and Miss. Oh, huh. You guess you could separate the Mrs. and Mr. Bowman you knew from the ones you'd barely seen by calling them Dr. Bowman 1 and Dr. Bowman 2. Tamarack's mom and dad were both PhD holders and researchers. They mentioned they were in the process of getting that when you met. At this point, you'd gotten they'd gotten the degrees. You'd be okay getting to know them better. You wanted to like them, even though they didn't give you a lot to work with. They honestly seemed cool. Those who should come to town more often, you like that, and Tamarack probably would too. Those who should come to town more often, you wouldn't like it, but you'd all manage for Tamarack. You actually hated them. As a power couple, you thought they were pretty aspirational for being intelligent anyway. So you wouldn't. Well, I'd like it if you did that, so you wouldn't. They sucked. You would never hear an opinion on them. You hardly knew them. Your feelings were mixed. If you knew them better, would you like them more or even less? Tamarack tugged at the end of her shirt. You'd been quiet for a while. Oh, she made a beeline for the... Oh, hello. I think my chair is breaking. Hold on. Okay. She made a beeline for the swing. Tamarack darted behind it and held on with both hands. She pushed it towards you. It was the second time she'd done that. Hey, you can have a turn. It doesn't have to just be me who uses it. Tamarack wielded the tire like it was a steering wheel for her life, and like it somehow controlled your future too. I could push you, or... She laid at you from over the tire. I could spin you. Spinning a tire swing? What a wild child. Yeah, push me. Yeah, okay. She kept her hold strong. I've got it. Get in. Climb on top with your legs on the ledge. Top with your legs crossed over the robe. Okay. You climb on top with your swing dangling over the edge. Yep. It was exciting. That was how to use the tire swing. Great. Tamarack walked backwards, bringing the swing and you with her. Gradually you rose higher. She took you as far as her arms could reach. Here it comes. And then launched the tire forward like you were an oversized baseball. Never mind. You went into free fall until the rope caught you on the other end. The tire brought you home to Tamarack. Her hands made contact with the rubber. She used both arms to shove you off again. Your world tilted and swayed. Your stomach dipped further than the rest of your body. The thrill went through you every time you felt another push. Okay, higher. I'm trying. For a moment you were above it all, completely out of reach. But it couldn't last forever. Soon Tamarack had to catch her breath from so much effort and lots of giggling. You couldn't follow the tire's rhythm anymore, it had stopped. So you'd have to make your own beat. Soon the dizziness cleared from your head. In this quiet space you had a thought. Were you ready to tell her? Okay, You started and stumbled but said it. Tamarack, Yeah, what's up? It's alright, you can take your time. Thanks. Tamarack tilted a listening ear toward you. You stilled your nerve and your voice tried again. The tire came to a stop for your reveal. I'm actually non-binary. My pronouns are she, he, or they. Then she gasped. She slapped her hands over her mouth. A lump formed in your throat. She leaned forward, so near you felt her breath on your skin. Tamarack had done that ever since you were 10, but right now it made your heart clench. Her fingers came undone like pulling the rope of a present. You could see her mouth again. Wow! With a single word, Tamarack sent birds fleeing from the trees, giving you and her more privacy. Well, as long as her grandparents didn't come storming out to see why their granddaughter was shouting to the high heavens. This is massive. Her hands shook up and down with increasing energy. She didn't know what to do with those things, but she did need you to understand how major your own news was. And we're both still girls. It's not exactly the same, but we're really alike. Girlfriends forever. Though we'll still be friends no matter what, and we'll still be powerful. She finally realized what to do with her hands. Latch onto your arm and absolutely not let go. Tamara Bowman was born a girl. She always had been a girl, and she might always be a girl. She wasn't your family or teacher whose jobs required them to be nice. Nothing in her life meant she had to support you, but still, she did. Okay, yeah. Okay, thanks, Tamara. It's okay, you can tell me anything, Reed. I know. So, does everybody know? Not yet, but I guess they will soon. Good luck, don't let anyone say you're wrong. And like magic, you soared. Well, with some help, Tamara had given the swing a celebration shove. Woo, go Reed. Safe with a friend by your side, you close your eyes. Then there was a click and a creak. Oh my god, he looks like Walter White, doesn't he? With the hat thing. Okay, the back door had opened. Standing in the doorway, framed by like a life-size vintage photo, was Mr. Bowman. Hello. He gave a tip of the hat to you, the exact same that he'd done 4 years ago. His jacket hadn't been replaced either. The vest and pants set he wore came from the thrift store. Even the part of the outfit wasn't newly made. Mr. Bowman's family picked it out for him, blue to make his eyes pop. All the people loved their old things. That was never true with Tamarac's grandfather. He was a true constant, a boulder that withstood the erosion of time. His hair couldn't get any whiter, his wrinkles couldn't get deeper, right? He'd already reached elderliness when you'd met. What you saw in front of you was the finished version of himself. Mr. Bowman wouldn't have changed a single thing for the rest of his life if he didn't have a wife and granddaughter who made him do it sometimes in little ways. And you know that for him, Mr. Bowman was the best. He made it easy to ignore him at least. Wow. You still didn't know him enough to decide if you liked Mr. Bowman or not. He was awesome. You'd hope you were that cool when you were an elderly. So my attitude made him laugh. Made you comfortable. How did Tamarack live in the same house as him? And you adored him for that. Mr. Bowman was the best. It was nice having Mr. Bowman in your life. Mr. Bowman climbed down the miniature set of stairs into the backyard, bracing one knee with his hand and taking the steps half at a time. He put both feet on the same level before going down to the next. Mr. Bowman was solidly built. That made the risk of accidents more troublesome. If he fell, he'd fall hard. How'd the call go? Tamarack's gaze met yours. That wasn't much of a call, and that had been her goal. A few minutes of small talk with a friend on standby to make certain it never went past that. Tamarack summed it up nicely with a shout. Good. Do we hang out still, or do I go home? You stay there. You could hang out with Tamarack until Mom came back. No awkward silence. Good. I'll leave you to it. Nice seeing you, Reed. Mr. Bowman replayed his motions, lift off his hat and slow Johnny over the stairs. The boards groaned as he ascended the steps. Then he closed the door behind him. Tamarack rocked your world when she pounced. Her eyes burned bright. Ready to go higher? Yeah, I'm pretty sure. With you and Tamarack and the tire swing, the time flew by. But eventually, the lights around you changed. Tamarack's yard became tinted orange. The sun was starting to set. Mom had said she'd be there in the evening, earlier than she normally got back from work. You wouldn't stay here forever. Tamarack waved you off, and the back side of the neighborhood got left behind you. Oh, that's so cute. Okay. Alright. Wait, I should have saved. Oh no. No, but it's fine, because... Yeah, okay. Yep. Alright. Return. Well, that's done. This was such a fun little game, even though my reading out loud skills isn't very good. So yeah. I think I'll wait for the whole game to come out before, properly playing the rest of it. Oh, but I don't know. I'll see if, it comes out or something. I'll keep an eye on it. But, yeah. Thank you for watching. If you made it this far, thank you for yeah. Subscribe if you want, and like the video, I guess. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Bye.